Welcome, writers, game masters, and creatives to the World Builders Tavern! Today we are talking about the animated film Song of the Sea, so be spoiler warned if you have not yet seen this film. But with that, you should grab an ale and pull up a chair. I'm Emma, your friendly barkeep, along with Allison.
Hello.
And Christiana.
Hi.
And we are so happy to have you here. Cheers!
Cheers!
Song of the Sea is the story of a 10-year-old Irish boy named Ben who discovers that his mute sister Saoirse is a Selkie who has to free fairy creatures from the Celtic goddess Macha. Yeah. So we open with a little scene between Ben and his mom, who is pregnant, and then the mother, we believe, dies giving birth to Saoirse, and then it kind of flashes forward a few years to the kids, and Saoirse finds her Selkie coat and ends up going into the sea, and the grandmother and the father find her kind of washed up on the beach, and they get really concerned that maybe this isn't a safe place for kids to live, so they ship off the kids to go live with grandma, which they're very upset about, and that's kind of the whole kickoff of the fantastical story. And this one's fun because Allie and I loved it and Christiana did not, and that does not happen very often on the podcast.
Also,
so
this was my pick, and I got a message from, I think, both Emma and Christiana the other day. Like, I thought this was going to be a happy little cartoon, and it was so sad.
I cried like 3 times watching this film. I was just like, this is heartbreaking.
I didn't properly prepare you for this.
Yeah.
Okay. Why I didn't like it.
Ooh, let's kick off on a negative note. Let's go.
Maybe it's just me. I think the majority of it is a me problem. I hate little kids' voices.
That's not what I was expecting you to say, so no. I love that. That's great.
What?
If my nibblings are listening, they're like teenagers at this point. I don't know. It's the Saoirse. Like, it kind of annoys me, which isn't fair, but sometimes I'm like, okay with it. But my main issue is that Studio Ghibli did this story better. 3 times.
Agree to disagree.
My Neighbor Totoro, about the sick mom. At this point, the sick mom has passed away. You have Spirited Away, a kid taken away from their family who's trying to like go back to it, and then you have Ponyo, which is about someone finding this kid who is like secretly, I don't know, I just like I love
the hot take. I love it. It's great. Christiana warned us in the chat, like, I have a hot take about this film, and I love it.
Have a hot take.
I completely disagree, but I love how hot it is.
Yeah, that's it. I just I don't like, I didn't hate the film. It's just like, on paper I should have loved this film. Like, and when I'm looking at all the individual pieces, I'm like, I love the mythology. I love the art style. I love the arc of the story. I love everything. But then when you put it all together, I was just like, meh.
I think I said the exact same thing about Pets from last episode, so I love it that it's like completely flipped.
Exactly.
It's just
that's
like,
what I was saying.
That's clearly our tastes are just like parallel lines.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was like thinking about in last episode when you guys were like, I love everything about it, but when you put it all together, it's kind of meh. And like, that's how I felt about this one, where I was like,
I love having such different people on the podcast. This is great.
I love Studio Ghibli, but I never even compared them in my mind because I just felt like this was so different.
It's the same story, though.
But aren't all stories the same story?
Yeah.
I know.
But you just think they did it better.
Ghibli did it better, in my opinion.
Nobody can see because we only record audio, but the face that I made when Christiana said Spirited Away. As somebody who, I haven't seen any of the other, I've only seen, of the 3 you listed, I've only seen Spirited Away, and I strongly disagree that it's better. I am I do not like Spirited Away. In general, I don't like Studio Ghibli, which
you're wrong.
I know. So, that's my hot take.
No, that's what I mean. I think it's just like largely a personal thing. Like, I love the story. I love the storytelling. I love the writing. It's just like, for me as an individual.
Yeah, no, that's
me
totally
as
fair.
one individual human, I was like, Okay.
Also,
Like, it's not bad, but
I love that you opened with "I don't like little kids."
I know.
Yeah.
One of the characters is mute, so like, what was your problem?
I hate Ben.
The kid when
Ben
he's like
sucks.
just like being so mean.
Ben's
Ben,
voice. He was.
yeah,
he
he's
was
like
mean.
Saoirse,
Yeah.
and just like kicks her off the boat. I was like, man, fuck you.
He was so mean, but I loved his character growth.
Yeah.
He was mad
He was,
because
yeah.
he blamed
He thought
her
that
for
she killed
taking
his
their
mom.
away.
Yeah, which is a
But,
little
okay,
kid
this
reason
is-
for being like nasty to your sibling.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I watched this story, and like I watched this movie, and I interpreted the story, and I was like, I totally get.
Mm.
I 100% get why Ben would blame Shorsha for their mom going away.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's annoying that he blames her for it. Like, it's not
That's
like
fair.
it's totally.
Yeah.
It's like a 100% a me thing.
Yeah. No.
Like, that's the thing where like I was watching this movie and I was like, it's so beautiful, and if you look at all the parts on paper, I should love this movie. But then I watched it and I was just like, eh.
I really think
Like,
that this is great.
yeah.
Like, just like to like jump right off the bat with like a world building advice for listeners is like
Yeah.
we are all three of us are like relatively intelligent people who consume a lot of media and like a lot of, but we do not like the same stuff, and like no matter what you write, somebody will love it and somebody will hate it for equally valid or non-valid reasons. So like don't even think about that. Like don't think about your audience a little bit while you're writing, but like your audience are going to be the people who like it, and you're never going to get everybody. Like never ever.
Yeah.
Because like also we three have a lot of
exactly.
similarities. We have a lot of differences, but we have a lot in common, and that doesn't mean that we like everything the same, even though we might fit into some same demographics.
I've seen indie authors complaining about, oh, I had all 5-star reviews on my book on Goodreads, and now I have 1-star review, and I'm so mad. And I'm like, actually, I don't trust books that have all 5-star
Yeah,
reviews,
then I assume
so
it's
that's
just your
actually
friends
good.
hyping up your book before it comes out. Like yeah.
You
And
really you want some negative ones, actually, which is weird to say.
I wouldn't give this a 1-star kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like
sometimes things are a
watched it,
3-star. They're like a mid.
I
You're
enjoyed
like,
it, and I was like, phenomenal art, phenomenal. I really loved the way they incorporated like the mythology and all these things. Like, this is all fantastic. I can just recognize when something is not for me.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, I think, what a lot of authors struggle with sometimes. Is,
We actually
or
talked
any kind
about
of creator,
that. We actually talked about that a lot in our last After Hours episode.
So much.
So
yeah.
if you want to hear more on that, go to our Patreon. But I would love to talk more about how you can base your world building in mythology, which I think this movie does really, really well. And I've always been interested in the Selkie myth because I find it a really interesting one. A lot of the Selkie myths involve it always involves, it's usually a woman, the Selkie, who can become a person instead of a seal by taking off her coat, which you see in this movie. And then there's often a lot of stories about like men sort of
like stealing the
hiding
coats,
their coats, and forcing them to marry to so there's also a lot of problematic stuff that this kids movie doesn't
get into.
Get into. It seems very clear that Ben's mom voluntarily
there's no sign that
married
that their father stole her
and
coat or anything,
and that they were in love. She seemed to genuinely care about him. I was like, is Ben supposed to be her son, or is he adopted because he's not a Selkie? But I think he is her son.
Yes.
He just
I do think it's traditionally a female mythology, like just like how harpies are traditionally like women. Selkies, I believe. I don't know if always, but I know majority are women. So, which is a twist on mythology that I like. I like that it's like a female mythological space.
Yeah. So this story took sort of the basics of the Selkie myth and did what it wanted with it, which was really fun. And I really liked how it made some parallels between the myth and current events. So, for example, Mananan MacLear, hopefully I'm saying that right, the Son of the Sea is a popular deity in Celtic mythology who suffers a great tragedy. So he's in this story that he like cried an ocean. He's like the giant who then got turned to stone, and in the movie.
Just to clarify, current events, you mean current within the story, not like current
current
societal
within the
events.
story.
Okay,
Sorry,
cool. At first I was like, oh, I didn't see how it connected to current events. I'm curious to see what.
Yeah, that was a confusing turn of phrase. And this is paralleled with the event in the story of Connor losing his wife and going through this really sad thing.
Yeah.
And so I liked that it kind of makes connections with this mythology or these things that happened way in the past.
And they did that in the visual world building because the characters looked the same. Like that god and Connor looked similar.
Yeah,
they had similar features. Yeah.
I didn't actually even think of that until you said it. Yeah, that's neat. And then Maka is a Celtic deity who was forced to race when she was pregnant. She won the race, gave birth to twins, and then she cursed all the men present with labor pains so that they would understand what she went through.
I love how specific some myths are. It's just like...
I know, it's so weird. That's a very strange one. And then Maka in the movie, it isn't really any of that, but it does have that connection to her wanting to take away people's pain, which is kind of the opposite, by turning them to stone. And so sort of like...
And that connected with the grandmother of the kids because she very clearly kind of just wanted to like move on from this.
Yeah.
And she also looked like they also like mirrored in like the animation.
Yeah,
they
really also
similar.
Looked similar. Yeah.
Which is really
cool.
So
that was really cool. So things like, I think you can take inspiration from mythology and you don't have to completely follow it, and you can sort of apply it to your story and how you want your character arcs to go, and then make some parallels between whatever mythology you're drawing from and what's happening with your characters. I really like
I would caveat that slightly just with like culturally depending on like if it's your mythology or not, that can make a difference. Like you don't want to take somebody else's cultural mythology and just like be like, I'm gonna pick out parts of it that I want, which obviously I know, Allie, that's not what you're saying, but just to like clarify, be careful about which mythologies you adopt.
That is so difficult for me because like I'm working on a story right now and I'm like, how, like, what mythologies can I be inspired by without sort of offending people or without
like doing harm?
The culture. And I'm like, can I take this dead culture that doesn't exist anymore and be inspired by that, or will people who those are their ancestors still is that still problematic? It's really tough knowing. I think the first step is just being aware and asking those questions in the first place.
Is it a marginalized like group, right? Like even like Celtic mythology, that is a group which, you know, we don't necessarily think of because oftentimes we think in terms of race, and it's like, well, these are a race of what is now considered to be white people, although even that has changed throughout time. Like Irish people were once not considered to be white in the same way because they were really like oppressed and weren't liked. However, you know, and you know, they were also, their culture was taken over by the British. They were invaded. A lot of these like traditional practices and mythologies were stamped out. So like even that is maybe not one that you would want to deal with too heavily.
I have Scottish ancestry, so I'm like, well, I feel a little more okay about you know, taking Scottish myths and being like, well, this is part of my who I am. But should I, like, in the current story I'm working on, I'm inspired by the Kitsune myth in Japan, which I love because I love foxes so much. I don't know if I've ever said that on the podcast, but you should know this about me. And so I'm like Japanese culture has been so much adopted by Americans just by how much anime is loved. And so it's not exactly adopted, it's watched, it's engaged with. And so I'm like, it's so well known, is it okay that I, you know, like I don't know, and I don't always know the answer to the questions I'm asking.
We always go back to like beta readers, and like that's also like a huge thing.
I think that's like the
or sensitivity readers.
if you're not 1000% confident, if it's not like 100% a part of your culture, just ask someone else to read and pay them. Kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the thing also is that you can have as many sensitivity readers and you still might get it wrong.
Yes, because no one speaks for an entire culture. Yeah.
No one is a monolith.
Yeah.
But
it helps.
So. It's better than nothing.
Yeah. So. You gotta kind of do your best is always like make an earnest effort, like do as best as you can, actually like engage with it in good faith. Don't just be like, oh, well, you know, I got one person to read it, therefore everything is fine and I don't have to like, and if you get criticism, that's also a big thing, is to be like, okay, did I take a misstep here? Like, did I actually, and then how can I learn from that? And obviously try not to make those mistakes, but we're human and it happens.
I talk about diversity so much that I have this really deep fear that I am like, and I'm sure it's going to happen. I'm going to make a mistake like in my own writing, and I'm going to get crucified for it because I talk about this all the time, and I'm like, I'm still human. I'm sure I'm going to mess this up because it's so hard to get it.
That is something I can speak to a little bit, working in the communications field. It's weird. Like the oppressors kind of actually rely on that. They rely on us tearing each other down instead of focusing on them, which is like not to say you shouldn't call people out. If someone is doing something wrong, call them out and have them fix it. That's fine. But if we're spending so much time like
policing each other,
we're not policing the oppressors, right? Kind of thing. So it's a fine balance, right? Like everyone will be called out at some point in time. Like as a non-binary person, like people will get my pronouns wrong sometimes. I'm never going to chew their head off because I get it, right? Like it's a new thing. It's something we all have to think about and take into consideration. But they might absolutely totally get in shit from someone else, and that's totally fair too. Kind of thing. It's just this kind of understanding of like, you know,
and it's like also
think
like
about it, be thoughtful, do the best, but
and don't take advantage of like if you think that a community will show you grace, like don't take advantage of that. Like I'm not gonna misgender Christiana because I know that they'll be very gracious about it. Like that would be really shitty. Like you have to like also still like, you know, be a decent person. Like it kind of just comes down to like try and be a decent person and not cause harm to people. Like,
as long as you're at least like trying your best.
It's
and which always won't, like it will not always get forgiveness, which is also fair. But it's like the fucking least you can do.
Make an attempt.
The bare minimum kind of thing.
Anyway,
but yes, back to like
back to Song of the Sea.
The incorporation of mythology was really cool. I did like the twist that they put on it, because it wasn't just retelling an exact myth. And that's kind of the fun thing about mythology, is like any mythology, because often like these started as like oral stories, they change so much. Like even if you look at like Greek mythology, which lots of people are really aware of, there's so many different versions of the myths. And like, so it's kind of fun to like get to participate that in a modern way. It's like, oh, well, this is kind of just like a new modern entry in that historical practice of like putting a spin on it or like reinterpreting it, which is really fun.
I would just be cautious about adopting mythologies that aren't necessarily a part of you.
Yes. Yeah. So like, so this one in particular, but it's not necessarily like a take it yourself.
Like you can't, as like a white colonizer, adopt like indigenous mythology and oral history. Like that's not cool.
No, but if it's your own,
don't do that.
Then like,
but if it's your own, go for it.
No.
And then there was also a bit related. There's a lot of symbolism and metaphor being used in this movie, like Saoirse means freedom, which is her entire arc is trying to find her speech, which has been sort of kind of taken from her by her dad, even though he didn't totally.
Yes, because without her coat, without like her selkie part of her, she can't talk.
Also, side note, her expressions are
they're so evocative. She says so much with her face.
She says so much, and they really just captured her personality without her having to say a word. I really love that. she was like so stubborn. She gets so mad at like her Ben doing like putting a leash on her, and she just looks so grumpy, and you're like, yeah, you should be grumpy. And like Bronak, which is the mom's name, means sadness, and that's really pretty much all we get from her character, is she's just really sad that she has to leave. And there are all these spiral symbols even like in the backgrounds of scenes, and that represents a personal journey, which is what the entire movie is about. Really, it's about like Ben and Saoirse's journey to discovering what Saoirse is and freeing her and freeing the fairies.
There's also the fact that so Maka is like taking the like spirits of the fairies basically and like locking them away, but she's putting them in actual jars, which is also the thing of like bottling up your feelings. Like it's like she's literally bottling them up. But then she also is just like, her thing is like, well, I don't want you to feel sad, so if I just freeze you, then you can't feel sad. And like I felt that was so relatable, like especially as a parent, like I don't have kids, but like, oh my gosh, of course you just want to like keep anything bad or painful from ever happening to your child, right? So like that's so relatable as like a villain. And I know I like in a previous episode I was just talking about like how sometimes you don't need shades of gray, they can just be evil, but like in this case, like sometimes you do want shades of gray, and I feel like she's like a very like shades of gray character.
I liked when Saoirse smashed all her jars and you saw all they were like clouds and lightning and stuff going into her mouth, and then you realize, oh, she has bottled up all of her emotions and feelings, and she's not just doing this to other people, she literally thinks that she's doing what is right for these her and fairies. That was a cool moment.
It's really sweet. I really loved, so I think I've mentioned on the podcast before, but so I'm originally from Canada, as we all are, but I'm currently living in Ireland. So all of the little like touches they gave it such a sense of place that I recognized was like so amazing. Like the fact that like the identifiable landscape, like they're looking at the map, like I recognize like there's a mountain called Ben Bulbin. I went on a hike there 2 weeks ago. I'm like, I recognize that. Literally the town that they like drive or that they go through when they're trying to get her back in time to get her coat. I was looking on the Reddit, and they're like, there's speculation that is either the town that I live in or a nearby town in the same county. And I'm just like,
awesome.
It's so, and like in the scene where they're like first talking to the three fairies, and they find out that she's like a Selkie, and they're like playing music. There's there's like lines on the background that is an old Celtic style of writing called Ogham, which is like lines that crisscross in the way that they intersect, like makes a language. And they like, and then also when the owls attack, Ben uses a hurling stick to like beat them off. So there's just like all of these little touches that like I just loved. And like I'm sure there's a ton that I don't pick up on because I don't like, I'm also not, I've only lived here a year, right? But just it gave such a sense of place, and like, and I just loved that. I was just like, I understand what this world is. I understand, like, it's a love letter to this, and it was just like, I loved it so much. It was so wonderful.
And I don't know if you could be able to do that as well if you weren't part of that culture. Like if the creators weren't Irish themselves, which isn't just another good reason not to steal.
It's not going to feel the same. It won't be authentic. Like you won't know those details to put in. So it was just like so lovely, so sweet.
I just feel like Canada isn't as interesting, and we don't have this like deep mythology and history
in the settler cultures. Like
I was gonna
indigenous,
say, we do though,
but like I also feel like that's not my culture.
But not as like as settlers.
We have indigenous mythology and stories, but I can't write about those.
Exactly.
So, that is one of the weird things about like being. This is a weird tangent, but like being a settler or like a descendant of settlers is that removal from culture. And like, well, I do have distant like Russian, but I'm not connected to that. I wouldn't say that that's my culture because my great grandparents were from there. But then also, like the country that I now live in, Canada, the culture of its indigenous people isn't mine, and there's not like another Canadian, it's just a very interesting thing to think about culture and how we lose it and how we get it. And like, which is all
for sure
not entirely related to this film.
But no,
I kind of.
I loved the sense of place that you can imbue into a story when you're so familiar with it. Yeah.
And I know we all like one nice thing is that we all agree is that the art style in this was incredible, so sweet. Oh my goodness. I want a print of it, like especially the scene where she's becomes a seal, and the fact that, first of all, she's like this little tiny white glowing seal, so it's just like this little light in the ocean.
With the big eyelashes.
So cute. I kept the entire time, I was like, oh my goodness, she's so cute. But then there's this scene where she's swimming with like a pack herd swarm school, whatever a group of seals is, and they come up underneath this blue whale, and you get this like stunning scene of like the whale and then the tiny little glowing seal, and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so majestic.
Yeah, there were so many scenes that I just wanted to screenshot and keep.
I'll like 100%. It was stunning, and I live somewhere where I see seals every other day.
So jealous of you.
Oh, so jealous.
But they captured it well. Seals are like weirdly human.
Ooh.
Like they have very expressive faces.
It's like the
describe it. And they captured that well, even in this little like kind of animated way. I was like, that's a seal.
And like the style was almost like watercolor. Like it almost looked like they watercolor painted everything, or like the backgrounds were. And then because I was watching it, and the characters themselves were like 2D, more like traditional animation, which is a really cool,
so beautiful
intersection. Which like that is just one of the great things about television, especially animation, is like you can use that visual storytelling in a way that you just can't with a book. Like you can describe a blue whale all you want, but I'm not going to get that same visceral like awe from like seeing like picture.
The actual story of this movie isn't unique.
No, it's very basic.
So I think maybe that's why Christiana doesn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's where like.
There aren't any twists or surprises or new things being done, really. It's just more the setting that I loved, like, and the mythology and the art. Like, I just wanted to watch. I just enjoyed watching it because it was so pretty.
It was beautiful. Absolutely. Like, that's what I mean, where I was like, I don't know, it didn't blow my mind. Like, it wasn't anything crazy. It was beautiful, though. And like absolutely stunning, and
yeah. So that's something we can't really advise novel writers.
No, if you're making a TV show,
it's hard.
If you're animating,
you can't get away with relying on how pretty your
no.
I guess
you can get away with how pretty your prose.
Yeah.
See Last After Hours for more discussion on that, if you dare. One thing I also really loved about this, which is that the amount of stuff that they show through detail. And we talk about show don't tell a lot. And one thing that makes it a little bit tricky for novel writers is that actually originated as a television thing, because obviously in a television show, you're actually it's more metaphorical for a novel, whereas in a TV show, it's literally show don't tell. So if you're ever confused about show don't tell, that could be why, is it's kind of been adapted to a medium it wasn't supposed to be for. But I feel like this movie did it so well. Like the fact, even just simple things, the fact that on her birthday cake, on Saoirse's birthday cake, there's a 6. They don't say, today is your 6th birthday. It's just like there's a candle with a 6 on it. I don't think they did.
I feel like they did.
I think they said it was her birthday. I don't know if they said, I mean, that could be wrong. So someone who's watched the movie and remembers or like the fact that Ben always wears a life jacket because they think that his mom drowned and he's afraid of the water. So he's wearing a life jacket all the time. Which I actually didn't pick up on at first because it's also Halloween when the movie's taking place. So I just thought it was part of his costume. And I was watching with my boyfriend and then he pointed out, I'm like, oh my goodness, you're right. It's because he's afraid of the water.
I didn't notice until he took it off to jump into the water. And I'm like, why is he taking that off? Oh, it's a life jacket.
Yeah. Which is just like such a sweet way to communicate a fear that somebody has without like, again, straight up saying like, you've never been back in the water since your mom died. Like just little.
Yeah, they don't like, they could have also shown it by having him like try and go swimming and then not.
Yeah.
But this was
they do that a little bit because when Saoirse falls into the hole, into the well, he's like, oh, I want to go after her.
But also, who wouldn't be afraid to jump into that well?
Yeah.
But in one of the opening scenes, she just wades out into the water.
Yeah, but
he goes, oh, you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
It's not completely clear that that's his fare or if he's just being controlled.
Because he is also that shithead older brother that would just be like, you can't do that.
No, but also they show him like almost drowning and she's just standing.
Yeah, she just that was really funny. Like, she's just like, what is your problem?
So it's like clearly you could just stand up.
This is deep water.
But I would say any of those things are still showing. Like even if they did have a scene where he was like afraid of going in the water, that's still different than his like dad sitting down with him and being like, you're afraid of the water.
Yes.
And like I think Christiana, you've talked about this before, how you and your partner, when someone's like brings up exposition, you'll like highlight it as being like, you know,
hello, brother who I never call often.
And like that would be telling.
No, my point was just that I really liked the simple, just the wearing the life jacket as like a clue.
They have some really sweet, just like details. Which is really nice.
Yeah.
Oh, also one thing which isn't as I guess everything's kind of world building, but I really loved that at the end of the movie, it like tore my heart out, but I also loved it that the mom doesn't reunite with her family. Because we think she died, we find out she's actually a Selkie, and she's actually just had to return to the sea because the whole thing is like if a Selkie's away from the sea for too long, they die. So she had to go back to the sea. And she just stays with the sea. And I feel like so many stories, or so often, there's this thing of like, well, you're a mom, and the main thing has to be your kids. And how could you ever put anything before your kids, even your own life, not a person, right? Like, and so it was just like, it was so heartbreaking because you also could clearly tell she loved her family. And like, you can see in this opening scene with her son, like she adores him, and it must have broken her heart, but like, this is what she has to do. And like, she's also a person outside of being a mother, and like, she's gonna die if she doesn't, which is also an important, valid thing, that you don't need to die. So I really loved that they ended as a family, but with her also being gone, and it was like the dad and his kids. It was really sweet.
And it didn't go too deep into her relationship with the dad, and like, did he know? Because it's not her and the dad's story, right? It's Saoirse and Ben.
It's hinted that he knows, I think. Well, you also, because you don't know, because when they are worried about Saoirse like washing up on the shore, he says to the grandmother, oh, like, we can't have this happen again, implying like that it had to do with the mother. But is it again that she drowned, or is it again that she's a Selkie? You don't really know. I don't think he knew. My impression is not that he knew, but
I think like he guesses some things, but he's in denial because like when she comes at the end, when they come and she's dying, and he's like, we have to get her to the hospital, and Ben's like, no, we need her coat, and it really seems like he knows that they need the coat, but doesn't want to believe.
Because otherwise, why would you not take your child to the hospital and believe your 10-year-old that she needs a coat? Like, yeah.
Hey World Builders, it's Christiana here. Did you know that the World Builders Tavern has a free Discord community for sci-fi and fantasy writers? Join us to get encouragement for that novel you're working on. Participate in our monthly flash fiction challenges, and of course, geek out about world building. There's a link in the show notes, and I expect to see you there.
With that, though, I think we're going to hop on over to Proprietor's Pick. So since I love this film, I'm really excited to see what Allie thinks will be similar to it.
If you are fascinated by the Selkie myth, you might like The Selkie's Daughter by Linda Crotta Brennan, which came out this year in January. Bridget knows all the old songs and legends of Neve, the daughter of the sea god, of the warrior Finn McCool, great name, and of people who are not quite human. But Bridget knows the truth. It's evident in the webbing between her fingers, webbing that must be cut. She's the daughter of a Selkie, a truth she must keep secret from everyone. But someone in her village is killing young seals, angering the king of the Selkie clan, who vows revenge, a curse that will bring storm, sickness, and death. To protect those she loves, Bridget must find a way to the land of Selkies to confront the Great Selkie and protect the young seals from harm.
Oh, I'm so sad at the mention of killing baby seals. That's.
I think this is middle grade. So it seems like it might be just a really sweet, sad story, kind of similar to the movie that we just watched. So.
Well, also, I think I want to say, like, killing seals is like sometimes a cultural thing.
Oh yes, yeah,
right. Like it's like a very Western idea, that like the idea of killing a seal.
Yes, I'm also sad when people kill cows. So I'm not. It's not just that. It's like us. It's like I love cute. I love animals.
Like, every time any little baby.
Yeah.
It's a little sad.
Yes.
But
yeah. No, that's a very good.
It's an important cultural tradition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's man, I could tell cultural stuff is so interesting. Like it's just the different. Yeah, I don't know. We could talk about it for forever because there's just like so many cool things that like
maybe in after hours we'll chat
how things develop, how they change. But so that we don't keep you here forever, gentle tavern listeners, we're going to do last call. So here are our concluding questions and thoughts about the Song of the Sea and how it applies to your world building. Allie, what did you take away from this in regards to world building that you think people would benefit from?
I think thinking about symbolism is really fun for me. I like to do it when I'm writing or editing, particularly meanings of names. I find that really enjoyable. So I don't know if that's something fun for you. Like, you don't have to do that at all. It doesn't matter what you name your characters. But if that's something fun for you, consider like looking up the name of what your character, of your character's name and what that might signify, and then I don't know, digging deeper into the mythology of whatever story you're taking from, and just to reiterate all the stuff we said before about being aware of myths maybe not being ones you should retell, and ones that you versus ones you can of your culture.
That's, very good things to think about. Christiana, what do you think? What should people take away from the world building? Or not take away, I guess, because you didn't like it as much. So what's a bad example?
Well, here's my hot take. Sometimes you can have a story, you can build a world where each and every individual piece is super interesting and super cool. But if you put all the cogs and gears together, does the clock tell the time? It's kind of my thing. Like, that's kind of how I felt about this, where I'm like, I love the artwork, I love the story, I love all these things, I love like the mythology involved with it, I love like the stakes. But for some reason, when you put it all together, I was just like, okay, like, it was cool. I didn't dislike it. I just, wasn't crazy about it. So that's something to consider. Like, you could have this like really bizarre, fascinating aspect of world building, but does it fit into the story? Like, does it all work together? That's something to think about for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes you can only figure that out by like getting, like, beta readers are super important. Like, that's why you want to get.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you could finish the whole story and someone just says meh.
Yep.
Like, that's not a bad thing. That's actually like the most helpful advice.
Yeah, is something not working.
Right? Like, if
and like don't like get offended by critiques.
Good. I like everything about it, but I'm not in love. That's actually really good advice.
Yeah.
Like, that's something you want to take into consideration.
Yeah.
So
totally. I would say that one thing that is really fun, or something that's really like useful when thinking about world building, is, and I think this applies, so it applies obviously if you're setting it in our real world, but I think it also applies if you're completely making up a world, which is like, think about what details to include. So if you're creating an entirely fictional world, write it as though it's real. Like, if somebody lived here, what landmarks would they recognize? Like the way that I recognize that mountain. What would somebody from Biblio know about the world? Like, what would make it feel real to them, and include those details. And then of course in the real world you can just research details, so it's almost easier in that way. So, but like, make your world feel lived in and make it feel like an actual place that exists outside of this story. I think is a really useful thing to make it just like hook people. These are all thoughts that you, the listeners, can ponder when you're building your own world. But unfortunately, we do have to come to closing time. We would love to stay longer, but this sign isn't going to flip itself over to say closed, now is it? Thank you so much for joining us at the tavern. If you just can't bear the thought of waiting 2 whole weeks for another episode, you should join us on Patreon, patreon.com/worldbuilderstavern, where you will get access to things like our bonus after-hour shows, where we keep talking about the episode and tangentially related subjects. You can also connect with us on Twitter at WBTavernPod, TikTok at World Builders Tavern, and Discord, the World Builders Tavern. We hope to serve you here again soon, but until next time, scram!
Bye. Get out of here.
We're doing so good for time.